Hey everyone, Thursday night, getting back to zero. Very excited tonight. You'll have no idea by the decorations about what we're celebrating tonight, but I know that day one is vitally important. Day two is even more incredible. A week is, my God, how do you do that? And I'm at coming up on the 2-year mark, but I don't think I ever even thought 6 months was even possible when I started this journey. So when someone has 25 years, obviously they cheated. So that's what we're gonna do. So anyways, I am so glad everyone's here to Thursday edition of Getting Back to Zero. My name is Jeff, and I'm talking to you from the Coal Room down under in Cincinnati. And I am so beyond thrilled to bring in, in recovery, I've made so many great friends that I've never even met. And Tammi is one of them. Tammi, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Jeff. I'm good. Happy to be here.
Okay. So
and thank you so much for the balloons. That's so special. So sweet.
It's you know what? In 25 years, I still don't understand how that's even possible. It's just again, I'm one of those. I came into this because I drank too much beer. So that's why I need to get sober. I need to stop drinking because my problem is drinking beer. Drinking beer is not even, that is the focal point. But what I've gotten in a year and almost coming up on 2, why haven't you written 3 books by now is the question. But I want to start off real quick. I just want to ask you, what is you today at 25 years sober, which is, I don't even know. I've got the applause button. I can't find it. I'll do that one later. But just incredible. What's different from your goal for today versus your goal 25 years ago on day one?
I don't even know that I had a goal coming in when I wanted to get sober and clean, except I was very, very deeply insecure. I was afraid of everything. My social skills had eroded. I was literally afraid to go anywhere. I was afraid of everybody. I was a single mom with 3 very young kids, and I was dying inside. Like literally, I felt like I was crumbling and decaying inside, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I didn't know that I was alcoholic.
Did anyone else know? Did your kids know? Did your family know?
Well, that's the thing, is I was sort of a functional alcoholic and addict. I don't have like a lot of wreckage where I had DUIs or I went to jail. I didn't lose my kids, but I could never keep a job. I couldn't finish semesters of school that I started because I couldn't leave the house. It was really, really horrible. And so that's why I say, like, my goal was that I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to give up on myself and my life. And so that was the goal. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. Like I didn't look like an alcoholic. To me, an alcoholic is what my dad was,
right.
Drinking the tall cans of beer in the brown bag,
right.
Starting in the morning, or the bum that was in the street. I didn't think that was me. I really didn't.
I'm starting to look at not what, like, my definition, because people talk about the word alcoholic all the time, and I hate the word. It's just an abrasive, but it is whatever the. My point is, people argue one. Well, describe an alcoholic. Oh, it's this. They look like this. They're carrying the bag. No. I don't care about the exterior. What's your definition of the behavior of an alcoholic? And then I match up to it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can start to say, well, then maybe I do fit that picture.
And then the other part that you were asking, did anybody suspect? So I had this double life. So like the people that I drank and used with, they could never imagine that I would ever give it up. And the people that didn't know that I drank and used would have been shocked that I was. So there was like like I said, because I was so afraid of everything and everyone, I just had all these roles and masks that I would put on depending on who I was with. So I didn't even really know who I was. I just knew I was dying inside.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a really, I don't know if that's the answer that you were looking for, but yeah.
Yeah.
I dig it.
I'm sorry. Jason keeps interrupting me. I apologize for that. But so when you made that journey, that was on your own, the decision to do that?
I went.
Because it had to have been a big isolation period for you.
Well, I was seeing the equivalent of, I think she was called a personal growth counselor back then in the 90s. Right now, I think you would call them a life coach now. Mm-hmm. And I was telling her my issues and that I couldn't stop drinking and I couldn't stop using. And she was the one that said, you know, I think you need to go to an actual psychiatrist. You might need medication. And so I went to a psychiatrist and I answered a bunch of questions. And because I was at the end of my rope, I was just completely honest about everything. And at the end of that session, she said to me, I'm going to refer you to our Center for Alcohol and Addiction because I think, she said, I think your drug and alcohol use is contributing to your depression. Because I just thought I was depressed.
It's like, great. Now the only thing that does work for me, now you're going to take that away from me. No, it's the depression. You're going to depress me even more.
So that's when I realized that my binge drinking and my using was what was wrong with me. So I didn't have a problem at the time labeling it as being an alcoholic or an addict because for me, I had a name. I had a name for what was wrong with me. And I had a plan because they were telling me, you have to go here, you have to go to these meetings, these 12-step meetings, and then you have to come to our outpatient groups. So for me, no, I didn't do it alone. I didn't do it on my own.
That's interesting, though, you said that it gave it a name because I didn't know what the hell it was. I just knew it was something and it was messing me up. And I couldn't fix what I couldn't find or see, so
isn't that amazing, Jeff? You're a college graduate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And I'm not a college graduate, but I have some college and I consider myself having some intelligence. And for some reason, it never occurred to me that this was what was wrong. Just like
I drank. None of the things were, well, like my anxiety was one that I drank because of the anxiety, and the anxiety turns out it was caused. And I hate saying that because mine lifted so miraculously when I quit drinking. Hell, I wish I'd known that 30 years ago because I did every frickin', self-help. I'd stand on my head in a bucket of kale if someone said it worked. I was that desperate, but the only thing that worked was drinking. Well, guess what happened the next morning? But, it wasn't just the anxiety. It was the shame of the anxiety. Then it was the shame of my drinking. Then it was the shame of not being able as a 6'4", football player and I'm afraid to drive across a bridge. And the only way I could even numb that just embarrassment and just feeling of crap about myself was the same thing that was fueling it.
And see, for me, I didn't know that my drinking and drug use was a reaction to my fear, my deep-seated fear and insecurity, being afraid to be who I was because I didn't know who that was. That was never acceptable to be who I was growing up. And so when I took that away, there was just a whole lot of emotion, a whole lot of turmoil, a whole lot of just everything. And even then, so what I tried to do was be the perfect alcoholic and addict in recovery. That's what I tried to do. So I would go to the 12-step meetings and I would hear, the slogans, and I would hear people share, and I would take that in and I would parrot that, you know, and everybody like, oh my God, this new girl, she is so great. She's getting it. She's, you know, but it was just me not trusting, you know, them saying, come in and be whoever you are. I didn't trust that. I was trying to be the good, perfect alcoholic and addict, go to all the meetings, say all the right slogans, get the sponsor, you know. I did everything that they told me to do, but it was really more of a performative thing because that fear of people and places stayed with me for a very, very long time in sobriety. A very long time.
Was there a point or a magical moment when, and I've had so many, so this is probably an unfair question, but when that light went off and you realized you saw what it was, or maybe you realized
it was, like you said, it just was a series of things. Like the first 5 years, I would come to meetings and then I would stop coming because I would come to meetings and I would start to feel good about myself. And then I would stop because I was, okay, I'm feeling good. I don't need. And so then my life would be falling apart and I would be falling apart. So I did
those
have
are two separate things in my mind. My drinking, I'm feeling pretty good about that, even though the other stuff is why I need to keep going to the meetings. You know, my life is falling apart, but
no, like I said, I was more than happy to take that out. But so once I removed that, so for you, your anxiety lifted, my fear and my fear of people didn't go away. So when I came to meetings for a little while and I did what, you know, a good little alcoholic or addict was supposed to do, I would feel good. And then, oh, I'm feeling good, so I don't need to stay. And then I would stop coming and my life would start falling apart again. And so I did that. I guess I call it an intimacy dance for about 4 or 5 years. And then I just got sick and tired of doing it. So what I was going to say is I had a relapse. My original sober date was July 2nd of 1996. And I was being the good little addict and going to the meetings. And then at about 4 months in early mid-November, I went out. I went out again and I started doing more research, as they call it.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long for everything to come back that I hated about why I had stopped drinking and using. And even my son, who was 6 years old, felt the need to come and literally say to me that why are you doing this again? And that more than anything made me come back. So November 18th, 1996 was my second and final sober date. So with that, like coming to meetings for a little while and then coming back and stop going, there was what I call spiritual relapse. So I had a lot of relapses in emotional sobriety and my spiritual condition. And that was what I just got sick of feeling that way because I was afraid that eventually I was going to start drinking and using again. And I had started to get a glimpse of what my life could be after 5 or 6, 7 years in sobriety. What would happen if I actually stayed and stopped coming and then going. And so it was probably about 7 or 8 years when that happened. And I had a sponsor who I came to a meeting like, oh my God, my life is miserable, blah, blah, blah. And she said, hey, I want you to do 90 meetings in 90 days at 7 years sober.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of me coming and staying and allowing myself to be seen, allowing myself to be known. At least I was allowing it. Everybody else saw through me and saw, that I was scared. Everybody else saw that I was afraid of being loved and trusting. But for me, just opening up and being willing to, that was the real change. So about 7, 8 years is when I stayed.
I wanted to, hang on just a second. I'm sorry. Oh, hey, Kate, what are you doing?
Hi.
Hey, Tammi!
Hi, Kate.
Yay, Tammi!
What are you
25
doing
years.
What are you doing in the neighborhood?
Oh, I just happened to be here, Tammi. Lo and behold, to celebrate you, my lovely, beautiful, awesome, beautiful inside and outside friend, and just an amazing leader.
Any question, Kate, you have that you've been wanting? Because she hogs the mic when it's her show. So this is the chance for us to,
I was gonna, yeah, definitely, Tammi. I wondered how your sobriety journey and your sobriety helps you to love yourself and to accept yourself.
I feel like that has been the true purpose. The true purpose of my sobriety journey is learning to accept. First, I had to accept myself. Like I had this huge, you guys know, I have this huge laugh, which I was always told was too loud and it was too much. I was always emotional, so I wasn't allowed to like cry when things touched, and so it took a minute to that. So the acceptance first came, and that came through the community saying, "Oh my God, your laugh is so great." And I would be like, "What? It is?" And crying at meetings or one-on-one when things came up, and it called for it. The emotion called for it, and my emotions were accepted. That it was, I did not get and stay sober and find this journey of self-acceptance and self-love alone. It was AA. The community was my mirror, and they were my family. They were the family that I needed growing up.
Kate,
So,
when
yes.
did you meet Tammi?
I met Tammi 2020 August. She was the first. Thank you for reminding me of that, Jeff. Was my first meeting was Tammi. And you know what? In AA, you never forget the first meeting, who led it. And I will never forget you, Tammi, for leading the first TLC, which actually, when you speak about that with AA, being seen for being emotional, it's exactly how I feel about TLC. After 12 years, seeing that I'm really seeing.
I remember the first time that Tammy's first death. Oh, crap. Hang on just a second. Sorry. Hey, Teresa. What are you doing?
Teresa!
Good to see you. You're muted.
What's up, sis?
Hi.
Hello. Happy 25 again.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff had to invite me because I told him, I don't know if I really got to share with you when you shared your story how impactful it was for me, because I've been kicking around sobriety for years and I never heard anyone tell my story until you did.
What do you remember what that was, Teresa? What part of her? I mean, you don't have to get the gory details, but was there anything that really identified?
Is that okay with you, Tammi?
Yeah, of course.
So we grew up exactly the same. Definitely, where the message was you were unimportant, you are not allowed to feel. In fact, if you're not seen and not heard, even better. I used to run the streets as a 4-year-old. It's so crazy to think about. And I had a 3-year-old brother, and we would just run the streets and no one knew where we were. And we were starving because there was never food in the house because my parents were alcoholics, drug addicts. My father abused my mother. She was in bed all the time. We were starving and going door to door and begging food from people. And then when you talk about how you adapted to it, like you were just saying, becoming a chameleon, That's exactly what I did. I became a chameleon until someone pointed it out to me in like this really bizarre, like quiz kind of way. And I was like, fuck that, I'm no fucking chameleon. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that on Facebook.
No, you're good.
You'd have Jason beat me.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
All spankings from Jason come to me. Sorry, I'll take them for you.
Yes. Well, I know it's a while. Jason Momoa's my celebrity crush, and then I was like, that's Tammi's too. And you know, I don't get to a lot of your meetings because the timing just doesn't work for me. But when I was early on, you made a big impact on me on the forum. I went on there. I was like, I just feel like a fire starts like my anxiety, and then I have to put that out, and then it's like, okay, now it's my depression. Now I have to go put that out, and I'm always just putting out fires. And you wrote me this beautiful paragraph all about, you remember how that was and how you dealt with it, and you got a life coach. And I was like, someone's been there, and
Yeah,
you
I'm not alone.
basically yeah, and you gave me a light. It was like, oh, there's the end of the tunnel. Tammy's showing it to me. It's right over there. Just keep on heading toward the end of the tunnel.
Well, you know,
So you mean a
you
lot
see
to
the
me.
someone with a busted wheel that's getting to crossing the finish line, and I'm sitting there going, I can't, you know, I'm broken, I can't get there. And then you see someone else in the same situations getting there, and it's like, wow, this is
Yeah, and you know the secret, the secret is at 25 years, I am also, there's still brokenness in me. And I'm just like you guys, except I have a little bit more experience knowing that when the shit hits the fan in my life, because it's not perfect, I know I can survive it because I have before. I know I don't have to survive it alone. There are people that I can turn to. I can bring it to a TLC meeting. I can bring it to TLC leaders if it's something I feel like I can't bring to a meeting. I have a sponsor. I have a life coach. I see a therapist every other week. I work with women in recovery. I have a support. So I just, the difference is, as Kate was asking, this journey of mine in sobriety has been just a continual journey home to myself. Because when I was little, like Charissa said, I was deemed unacceptable, and it was better if I was seen and not heard. And I was basically ignored, and I didn't know how to be me because me was unacceptable. So I became anyone. I would just become whoever I was, whatever company I was in. I would figure out what they wanted me to be, and I would be that. And so at 25 years, this is me being settled in who I am and grateful, and then being able to move forward. So this is who I am. Now, what do I want my life to be now that I've grown up, you know? And so there is, like Jeff was asking before the show, hey, I heard that you might be relocating. Well, yes, for the first time, I found a place that I loved, that I wasn't dragged there by a parent. I didn't follow a boyfriend or an ex-husband and land somewhere and stay. This place is a place that I love, and I feel confident within myself to make these decisions and move my life in this direction. And that's the difference. I still get anxiety and I still get scared of things, but I can walk through them. I can walk through them. I don't let it stop me anymore.
You have to reach for them, because it's not, you know, they don't necessarily come, you know, right up to your house, you know. I'm sorry, hold on just a second. Regan, hey.
Hi, Tammi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be included in this very special group, and wow, what an accomplishment.
Oh,
you know, when I write things down in a journal, and I hear people talking, and I can't always read what I write because I do it so fast. So I'm looking, end of the robe. I'm like, end of the robe. What is that? What did she say? End of the robe. And she said, end of the rope. And you said that's when you got honest, you know, and I feel like I did that same thing. You know, it just like hit me like, okay, no more lying. I'm just going to tell the truth and see what happens.
Was that with you or with others?
No, well, that was me, you know, and you know, I've been with TLC too from the beginning, and what an incredible supplement, and to the foundation that I've received from AA. You know, it just complements each other so well for me. But you just said something about like walking in my shoes, you know, that I was just so full of denial, like, well, walk in my shoes. You don't know what I've gone through. Well, you know what? Get over myself. I listened to a lead recently where the person talked about having that healthy conversation in your head instead of the negative one. The negative one was gone. I mean, it was just like what a transformation that could be. And listening to you and following you, it's just been really inspirational. So I'm glad to be here, and certainly glad to see my other gal pals here, and of course Jeff, the kid, and all of us.
Yes.
This is crazy.
It's just
And Jason, of course.
Jason, Esther, Jason's here.
Yeah.
Got him. It's just no. I just wanted these three. Just I know it's just the support from the group is just magical, and it was I guess Megan I knew just because of our kids, but I never would have known any of these. I mean, some of these are, some of the best friends that I met. And I mean, and there's some people that you're not wild about, but you still have to deal with them. It's, I'm sorry that someone else has to deal with. Oh, speaking of,
Kathy!
Sorry, Kathy, how you doing?
Unmute yourself, baby.
You got to unmute, Kathy. There you go.
You are.
That was so perfect. I was swearing at Jeff for saying some people you can't live with. Tammi, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I just love you.
It's so funny. I was going to call you beforehand or text you and tell you how nervous I was going on Jeff's show. But I'm like, I'm not going to bother her because I wasn't sure if you were in the middle of your yoga thing or what have you. So I was like, no, I'm not going to bother her. I'm so glad you're here.
You are never, oh my gosh, all the times I've bothered you. Are you serious? You're never a bother. Oh my gosh. I am so grateful for you. And then I'll echo what everybody else says. And you've heard this from me time and time again, but you told my story and you helped me heal time and time again. Okay. I have a question for you though, Tammi.
Oh God.
So, because, Jeff, if Jeff's going to, give us all a hard time, Jeff's into yoga now. Did you know this?
When I met Tammi, she's talking about yoga, and it was like, rumors. No, I'll quit drinking, but I'm not doing this yoga deal. And now I got the mat, the blocks, the whole.
So Tammi,
got it right here.
So like a month and a half ago, he calls me on a Friday at like 4:30. I'm on my way home from work, and he's like, "So that yoga pose we did last night," and I go, "Can we just take a moment?" I'm like, 2 years ago, would you have thought you were going to be calling a woman in Cleveland, Ohio, talking at like a happy hour time about a yoga pose? And he's like, "Oh my gosh, no!"
I get the pigeon confused with the, it's embarrassing.
It's unbelievable. And I do believe, you inspired me to
I'm glad you all are my friends because I've lost every other friend I've ever had.
Did you really?
A couple of them walked in the other day and I was down in the, down dog position or whatever. And they just turned around and said, "Nice knowing you. We'll see ya."
When he says friends, he means Billy the dog, but Billy was like, "I can't take any more of the downward dog with you." But do you have a favorite type of yoga or no? My question actually was this, in all seriousness, when did you, I was thinking that something I didn't know about Tammi is, when did you get involved with yoga and, as part of your practice of who you are?
It's really interesting because I was 48 years old when I walked into my first yoga class. So I came to yoga very late in life because I'm 54 now. And I had just moved from one place to the other. And I was complaining to my therapist how badly my back hurt, And she was like, "You have to try this yoga studio in town. There's this great class and they do a lot." She said they do a lot of work with low back and hips. She was talking about a yin class. I didn't know what it was at the time.
Jeff,
She
do you
said,
know
so-
what yin is?
Yes, Jeff.
That's
you
my
know what
favorite because I don't break a sweat and start shaking like a leaf
That's
that's
the
about
classes
to.
I teach. That's why he comes.
Usually I'm not inverted, supporting my weight with my pinky when I hear yin.
Go ahead, Tammy. Not for
So
you,
that's how I went to my first yoga class, and it was such an amazing experience. Like I felt the same type of anxiety as I'm going to a gym. I had my whole idea of what yoga was, and I was, I'm a fluffy gal, to say fat in a nicer way. I'm a fluffy gal and a woman of color, and I was just like, but my back was hurting. My therapist, my kick-ass therapist, recommended it. And the woman that I talked to at the studio here in town sounded really great and welcoming. And I had nothing to worry about. What I wore was perfect. The women were so welcoming, and the teacher was amazing. And I literally took the yoga from the very first class. In fact, I did that class and I went home and I wrote my first blog post. So for me, yoga and writing has been actually basically tied together in my life. Yoga and writing came into my life at the same time. So when I started going regularly.
That's amazing.
And I loved it. It did so much for me that I had no clue that it would. I felt comfortable in my body in a way that I didn't think I ever would unless I lost 60 pounds. I felt good being me. The breathing, the moving, I used to call it good yoga aches. After good yoga, you guys know about the good yoga aches.
Yes.
And then the studio that I was going to was in the process of getting accredited to become a yoga school. And I remember my yin teacher, I was telling them that I might be interested in taking the training, and I will never forget her reaction. She was so excited. She didn't think it was ridiculous, which as I was afraid of. She was like, "Oh my God, you're going to be my student?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You're going to be the yin yoga queen," is what she said. So yeah, my favorite styles to teach are yin, slow hatha, restorative.
That's amazing. We
So,
never even had this conversation, and that's what I love as well. It just flows so naturally to me with sobriety. It's like when in the sober yoga community that Jeff and I are like, I talk all the time about like, well, when we're holding this pose and we were holding onto a bolster one day, and I was like, it's kind of like the bolster is our community and we're holding on and we're shaking a little bit, but we know we can do this together. And it's just amazing, the tying to it. It really is. But you inspired me to pursue this idea.
Well, I'm glad because it's such a beautiful thing to have in your life if that is your thing.
Yes.
It really is. If yoga isn't your thing, try Pilates, whatever works for you. But yoga was something. And here's the other thing that worked out for me. A year to the date that I started going to the yoga studio was the first day that the yoga teacher training started. And I wouldn't have even remembered, but it was the studio owner that remembered, went back and found the emails, inquiries, and sent them to me and said, "Just so you know, 1 year ago today was when you came to the studio." How amazing is that?
Seriously, that is not, there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Right.
That's amazing. So I'm excited that Jeff's going to become a yoga teacher soon too.
Well, the yin is nice because I don't care if you're, some just crotchety, evil people that. Kathy, where are you going? I need, Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, it's Peggy.
Peggy!
No, where are you going? Kathy.
Oh my God, where were you going with the crotch?
Oh no, crotchety.
You literally washed all the water. You get crotchety and then you bring me on?
Oh God.
Way to celebrate, Tammy. Way to celebrate the 25th.
I didn't know where you were going with what you were talking about. I
I
almost
don't know.
left.
I got Jason. Jason is.
Or maybe you don't want to.
Yeah. See, Jason's kicking in, and he's saying hi. And
I don't know.
Peggy, the floor is yours. Say something nice about Tammi and
Okay.
not evil stuff
All right.
about me.
I think I went to your first class, Tammi, because I started TLC before it was TLC. And I always felt, and I know people have described this before with you, but you're just a place to come home to. And I think that we're soul sisters and that we're both connectors. I think we have that role in life that where we're kind of a conduit for other people even to get together, if that makes sense. And I always have pictured my life as being somewhat of a choreographer. I really was a real choreographer, but just really this kind of a broker in a way. And I found this really beautiful words that actually aren't mine. They're Seth Godin's words. He's the author of Tipping Point. But this is how I feel about you. There is something quite magical about meeting or knowing a connector. Those unique people who always seem to know how to help, or if they can't, know someone who can and who quickly and freely puts you in touch with them. More often than not, they are the ones that make you feel at ease almost immediately. They seem to understand situations even before you describe them, and they ooze warmth, energy, and genuine interest in everything. Somehow they seem to be able to make things happen quickly. Whilst they don't profess to know everything, often they know how to make almost anything happen. They are able to tap into well-known networks to help expedite information flow, access to resources, and the expansion of ideas and opportunities. Connectors build bridges between ideas and actions by knowing who to ask and who to ask to help to get things done. Malcolm Gladwell, author of The Tipping Point, who coined the term connectors, describes them as those handful of people with a truly extraordinary knack of making friends and acquaintances. They are able to span many different worlds, subcultures, and niches. Sorry. That's how Jeff would pronounce it. Traits common to connectors are energy, insatiable curiosity, and a willingness to take chances, as well as an absolute insistence that connecting is not the same as networking. Whereas networking is often viewed as a means to an end, connecting is driven by a genuine interest in people and purposeful engagement to better support and assist others. That's how I feel about you. I love you. And from one connector to another, I just adore you.
I am really overcome by those words. And thank you, Peggy. I don't talk very much about, I have where'd you go? Did you get rid of everybody, Jeff?
Hold on. No, you're still there. How did
I'm here, but where's Jeff?
Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Peggy did something. I don't know what it was.
Don't blame Peggy.
Peggy, stop. Don't do that.
Don't blame Peggy. So what I was going to say is I have a mission statement that took me quite a while to craft. And I did a lot of work on it through a book that my therapist had recommended. And my mission statement is to facilitate, communicate, and inspire healthy, meaningful connection through spirituality. And even when it's been my mission for work and life for probably about 3 or 4 years now. And I don't know how to really, I had no clue how to make that happen, how to this is a great mission statement. This is what I want my life and my work to be about. And I had no clue how to implement that. And so what I've done is just continue to show up and live my life and work on my sobriety and connect with people. And it leads me to situations and organizations like TLC.
How did you find Laura?
I didn't. I'm friends with Becky Vollmer. And I've been online friends with her since.
I invited her tonight and she said no, she had some reruns she wanted to watch. She wasn't sure what they were, but that she said maybe another time.
But I've known her since 2015, and this was a point in my life where I was deeply unhappy. Like, I had been working in the insurance industry for, I don't know, maybe about 12 years now. No, probably about 7 or 8 years. And I was just deeply unhappy with my life. And Becky was this great internet, Facebook, you are not stuck, left her corporate job. She's a yoga teacher and she's a writer. And I would send her private messages and she would respond back in just very meaningful ways. And so she and I just became friends and friendly and over the years. And so I didn't know Laura. I knew Becky, and Becky asked me, she asked me after the pandemic had began, she goes, hey, I want you to come tell your story. There's these great meetings. And she goes, I actually have the DM that she sent me on my page, my Ever Inward page. And she says, it's Laura McCowan. You probably know her. And I didn't know who she was, but there's these great meetings. It's such a great sober support. It's kind of like AA, but it's not. There's no dogma. And if you could just come and talk for 20 to 25 minutes and tell your story. And so many people have said AA is their foundation. The first 22, 23 years of my sobriety have been founded in AA. My principles are AA's principles. The woman that I am today is because of AA. And so I was taught, if someone asks you to be of service, you don't turn them down if there's no good reason to. So I said, sure. And that's how I found TLC, is I came to speak at one of Becky's meetings on May 22nd of 2020.
Wow.
I came and told my story, and I loved.
Anyone in the group remember that? Or were they, Kathy, you do?
And it took me, I had still not talked yet in any meeting. And Tammi I remember, I was like, I don't know who this woman is, but she is changing my life. And it took me another week or two to ever speak. But it was Tammi that stirred in me that I was ready to have a voice. I'll never forget when you spoke at Becky's meeting. It was amazing. It was life transformational to watch you and see the love that you got. And it was life transformational for me.
It was amazing. Like, I joined TLC that day, you guys. And then Becky was like, hey, this thing is just now starting. And I know that they're still looking for community support. Let me check with Laura. And I got like an email from Laura that said, like, I had already signed up. So I was going through like the Kajabi forum and all that stuff. And I was looking and I was just in awe. And I was trying to figure out when the next meeting was, when I got an email from Laura saying, hey, I've heard some great things about your share, and Becky seems to think that you're interested in blah, blah, blah. And so I said, yeah. And she gave me Brooke's info to onboard me. So I was a community support for about a week. And then I got another email from Laura. It was one of those get to know you. She was like, hey, this is me. And it was just a great email about who she was. She said, so, let me know who you are. So I sent her an email telling her who I was and that I love Jason Momoa, just all this stuff. And less than a week later, she was like, hey, we're expanding the meetings and we'd really like you to be part of our leadership team. There's a Saturday evening meeting that we want to start. Would you be interested? And that was May 30th, you guys. So I came to speak on the 22nd, and I was working. I was working as a community support by the end of the 22nd, and I was a leader by the 30th. That's how I found TLC.
You guys are, I want to just kind of open it up. So if you have questions, unmute yourself and ask away.
As part of your retirement plan, are you going to meet Jason? Just wondering.
I don't have any plans to ever really meet Jason because he is deeply, deeply and passionately in love with his wife, as he should be. He's an amazing father with his kids. And the funny thing is, Jason Momoa is gorgeous. But what I really, really and truly love about him is that he is, at least he feels like he is so authentically himself in the world. He looks like who he is. And he has a wife and a partner who accepts him for who he is. He cares about the planet and works for the preservation of the planet. He adores his children. So he's a wonderful father. And so I just love who he is and how he shows up in the world. You know, I feel like I can be a little more who I am because this person that I love and admire is so unapologetically himself. And it just so happens that he looks absolutely fantastic in a skin suit.
I don't know. I don't
I
like
was
the
going
hair.
to
I
say,
don't like
nice
the hair.
try, Tammy. That was very convincing. That whole thing. It was really, really good.
Let me just do that, okay?
Academy Award.
But I just said meat. That's all I said. All I asked. I didn't.
I honestly, I don't think I would know how to. I would be afraid of how I would act if I met Jason Momoa.
26th. We need to make this happen, Jeff. Get on it.
You know what? I was looking for those. I don't even know what that service is, but you can pay like $50 and have it get an audio message, a personalized from some of the
my God,
dating celebrity stars. His was $93,000, and I said, you know, I'll just go with the 2 and the 5 silver balloons, please. We'll hold off on that, and we'll just get.
Wait a second. $93,000 you could buy Jason Momoa?
No, I have no idea, but
I'm like, that sounds like a deal.
So we just.
He's like, I got a 401k I can cash in. Yeah, okay.
I just got him saying,
it's time to fundraise.
I got him just coming in and saying hi with his little.
I think this is a perfectly logical GoFundMe if I've ever heard one.
For reals. I have a question actually kind of on those lines because I know, like me, you're a single lady and you've been sober for a while. How have you dated? Do you date? How do you date?
I have not dated. That has been the final frontier for me in my sobriety. And because I had so much work to do on my own self-acceptance and learning to love myself and be who I am, you know, if anybody's familiar with the 12 steps and that 4th step, the inventory, the first one that I did was through Narcotics Anonymous. It's a booklet and it is extremely detailed. And when I went through my romantic relationships and sexual inventory and realized that every relationship, every partner that I had, I was looking for love and I was trying to be what they wanted me to be. It absolutely terrified me. I was like, I don't know how to be myself with anyone. So no dating, which is what I admire so much about people that do in recovery.
Well, but here's the thing, like, you know, Peggy said, you're like coming home and a lot of people tell you you're like home. And I think the reason why you get that vibe is because you're so at home in yourself. Right. And I don't know about you, but I think a lot of men find that really intimidating.
That could be. But there's also for me the fear that I would revert back. I don't know that I've had people assure me that it wouldn't because of how much work I've done. But there's still that fear out there that if I did find somebody that I really wanted and he wanted me to be something else, would I twist myself? And so. Yeah, I feel like I got enough on my plate.
We wouldn't let you.
I'm just afraid that I'd be talking to her and she would just, your time's up. You should have set the timer.
I have never done that to you, Jeff. Stop it.
The threats are just as bad. Have you had to wave the card to anyone yet?
No, but I think it's just mainly because, you know, people want to be heard, and sometimes people just get lost in what they're saying. And I feel like it's really hard and harsh to interrupt them. The only time that
it's important to them.
Right. And it is important to them. The only time that I've stepped in is there was recently someone that I strongly suspected had been drinking. And the thing with part of the reason why we ask people if you've been drinking to not share is, one, you don't want to trigger other people. The other thing is people who have been drinking get stuck in a loop. They can't help themselves. A lot of times they're just, and so I just didn't want, so I waited until there was a plausible pause, and I just kind of jumped in and said, thank you. There's help for you on the forum or in the chat, and that's the only time. But I didn't hold up the.
Luckily, I didn't. I tried it. I called back a second time, so I didn't completely.
Tammi, can I ask you? Your readings and your reflections are so beautiful. Do you do something like? How do you go about choosing your readings and? How do you do it? Because like everyone said, it's like coming home to you. And I wonder how you prepare or meditate. Like, how do you do what you do?
I don't prepare or meditate. What I will do is probably about, so on set, like I have an alarm that goes off about an hour before my meeting. And then it's really, I'll start to look at certain books and say, do I want to go with Young Pueblo? Do I want to look at Pixie Lighthorse? Do I want to look at, so I have some books, and it's really, what is I want to look at? And then I try to remember, have I been reading a lot of this person lately? Let's open it up to someone else that I have. And so that's really, and then what touches my heart. And so last night is a perfect example. I had something completely different that I was going to read that had to do with, winter and slowing down and how the rest of the animal kingdom hibernates, but we don't in this busy city. So there was going to be something like that. And yet I ended up reading this beautiful Facebook post about holiday etiquette and inviting a friend who is grieving into your home and to invite their grief. And it was just absolutely amazing. And I remembered the other meeting I'd done on grief not too long ago that was well received and opened up a lot of dialogue. So I thought this was, so it's really what strikes my heart. And I'm always nervous to, is this topic going to hit? Are people going to want to share on it? And so it's really just what's on my heart or my heart mind. I call it a lot. What's on my heart mind.
Yeah,
that's
everybody agree with that. It really comes across. I mean, it's just your essence, I think, really. Not like you have to do a downward dog and then.
And it's helpful. It's helpful to have books of people that resonate with me. And then even if somebody resonates with me, though, it has to be something that will translate so that people will get it as well. Like I love Mark Nepo, but he can be very esoteric and dense sometimes in some of the things and so there's some things that I just wouldn't bring to the group. So I'm always on the lookout for new writers, as well. Anthony is such a great source for that. He's always championing someone and saying, I've gotten all their books. I'm like, oh, okay. I need to make a note of that person. So yeah, that's
one thing that I did learn from TLC was just dealing with people with grief, because I ran from it. I hid from it. I changed the subject. I cracked a joke. I did whatever to not face it. And I've actually learned to, even though it's their grief, I learned how to face it myself, because I don't know what to say to people. So I ran from them and then I drank from them. So that's one thing I really got is to just listen. And Peggy always jokes about it, but it's true. I learned to shut up occasionally and just listen.
I thought you were going to lie and tell me you liked reading. I thought you were going to say, "Oh, I love books too." I'm like,
really thought that's what he was going to say.
I thought he
too, and
was too.
I was going to, I was
Yeah.
waiting for him to lie about the fact that
If
he
you had
buys
put some
all the books
pictures in
too.
your book, maybe I would have spent a little time in there.
You know,
Flip through
he
it.
was
Not even
gonna
in the
pick
middle where
wrong
you have a
group to
couple
lie
of.
with.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, come on, Jeff, just don't come out now. You're doing well with the honesty thing. Just don't tell everybody you read a lot. Come on,
And
come
he
on.
did.
See,
We'll
can
give
you
him
believe that
credit.
we were all
He was
thinking the
honest.
same thing? We were all thinking, Jeff, don't come up with the book lie because we will call you on it.
Yeah.
But I think yoga has helped you too with slowing down.
Yeah. Oh, I have, Post-its all over. Take the breath. I've got things like that. Just because this isn't really about Tammy's story, but I had my answer before you even finished saying what you were saying. It was like, halfway through your sentence, okay, quiet, because now I'll tell you the answer. And I'm learning now, shut up, let them finish, then take a breath, think about, and then respond. And I'm still working on it. I'm sure.
And if you want to see progress, maybe the very first little show that he did was with me, and I didn't get like 3 words in.
I asked Elizabeth, I said, did you listen? She goes, no, I had to turn it off. And I said, what? She goes, you don't shut up. Shut up. You interrupted her, everything she said. You kept talking. They don't want to hear you. They want to hear her. I want to kick the door down and say, shut up. Just stop.
I love your wife.
She's evil. Do you know that?
I know we want to meet Elizabeth. We have a
code. One morning I was driving and I just decided to text her. And I'm not a super romantic guy, but I text her just saying, you know what? I am so glad, you're my wife. I love you, blah, blah, blah. And just poured my guts out. And then you see the little 3 dots, going and they're typing. And what she responded, just 3 little words, but it just made my day, when I read, I need butter. On my text. And I thought, this is magical. I pour my guts out and she's in the kitchen getting it and just sees that I texted and I get back, I need butter. So now that's the code word that I'll look at and say, you know what? Now more than ever, I need butter. I do. I need butter more than I've ever.
Maybe,
I love that.
Maybe she had something else in mind with the butter.
No, it was not.
But I want to stop and say that is that's the beautiful shorthand that develops from real love and relationship. And that's what I ultimately want. And that takes building something, opening myself up to building something. So I think it's beautiful, Jeff. That's a great story. I love it.
Well, I can't speak for other people, but I can only.
Yeah, you can. You always do.
I'm sorry, Peggy.
I love Peggy.
Peggy just got muted.
Oh, what happened?
He's reading. He's reading back other people.
But no, it's such the learning, and I'm sure Tammi, you lead these things, and you probably leave with just as much knowledge or new knowledge. We're all learning together, which is it's and it's almost I don't know, with me playing football, all the sweat and growth together, you really bond with those strangers. They're your team, and you go to battle with them. And it's kind of the same thing with this. It's people you don't even know, but find out we've all through shit and are coming out, linked arm in arm.
It's a great analogy.
Here's my little reminder of what TLC is. Some of you have seen it. I had to tape all hell's breaking loose now. But no, there was a chain of a bunch of them. But this is
the barrel of the monkeys. Yes,
we are. It's we link arms, and that's how we get out of the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I think you need to write poetry and publish a book.
Yeah.
I just can't get over the big number 2 behind your head.
It's
I
I
big
almost
number
wrecked
2.
on the way home. I changed lanes twice and heard horns.
Well, you
going
know
off
what?
'cause I
You know
couldn't
what
see it,
happened to
but-
me when I had my big number 2. I think my number 2 was bigger than yours, and it kept like it came in the front of the car, and the top of the 2 hooked my neck.
Oh my gosh.
Well, if you could have seen me, this guy's wanting to turn. I've got tape on him. I mean, the battle, and I'm twisting the bottom, and they just want to, turn perfectly in line. And it's like, the hell, So
I appreciate your efforts,
tape
Jeff.
over to the, the dust buster. I've anchored stuff all over, but I forgot I'd anchored them to the monkey, so that's why they hit the ground.
Why would you ever want Jason when we have this?
Thank you. And the hair is almost spot on.
I think that's what we need to do now. Is we're just gonna take pictures of Jeff.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
You can really come to yoga class with us.
Oh my
Yeah, we
God.
want to see Jeff with yoga pants on.
You point the camera up, so I do this to see my head now and then it's okay now into another pose, and I disappear. Occasionally, I stick my foot up in the air so Kathy thinks I'm doing some of the work, and then I
He'll be
go
like,
back
"Can you
down.
hear me?" And I get the thumbs
Yeah.
up too.
Thumbs up, or just stick it and go, and then go back down to my nap or doing whatever I'm doing. It's all good. Well, Tammi, you know how we feel. I'm not even going to say it. I think it's pretty evident. You're the best, and
I love you guys so much. Oh my God. Thank you.
wait a minute.
So
Hold
much
on.
for showing up.
Hold on. I got. Oh, sorry. One last. I'm not even sure who this is. Darn it. No, I'm serious. There's someone down there, and I can't get the thing to grab them. Oh wait, we're starting. Hold on. Don't go, because I have someone else that wants to say hello.
Okay.
It's late coming in. I just got to figure out how to. There we go.
That was a lot of build up there.
Hi, sweetie.
I sprinted back to my computer so I could join in, and I just had to wish you happy 25. I know we were all talking about that very memorable, very first share that you had. I will never forget that, and how we all were rooting for Tammi Part 2, which we're very lucky. It turned into Tammi Part maybe 2000 at this point. One of my favorites. So everybody knows, and I'm among all of the book lovers here, that Tammi especially is, I consider her a bibliotherapist. She is someone who every time I join a meeting, she has the exact right words and books. And that's why if you look at I'm embarrassed to show you what my apartment looks like right now, but many of the books that are in stacks here come from Tammi. And I will just never forget this one time, I guess it was in 2020, and we were sitting there and she opened up with "The Body Is Not an Apology." And it just struck me as she was reading it. The tears just started flowing down, and I really just connected with Tammi reading it and the words. And I've read that book over and over now as I've been invited to speak at different events. I've read from that and talked about Tammi reading that. And so you have such a gift, Tammi, to be able to take the emotions that you're feeling and the experiences that you're having, and that you're still processing yourself in some ways, but you're able to find other words and bring them to us, and they're just so relatable. So thank you for sharing those words, but then layering in your own. I think the words that you add on top of that are really the extra value that we get. And so I love when we can hold space for you, because you do such a good job. So congratulations, Tammi.
Oh my gosh, Krista. I knew you were going to say that book, and it absolutely is. You guys hold space just as much as I hold it for you. And I bring you what's in my heart, because I am one of you guys. I mean, sure, I'm leading the meeting, and yes, I have this amount of time in sobriety, but we're all walking the same journey. We're just in different places.
Well, I had said to you at the beginning, before we started, that 25 years, life is perfect for you. You've got 25 years of you figured it out. So life is just one joy after.
You've arrived.
Yeah, you've arrived. You got it.
We all say so.
perfected it.
You're
Nothing
good.
ever goes wrong in your life now, right?
Those of you, thank you, Kathy. Those of you who have been to my meeting know the fallacy of that statement, so I'm not even going to go into it.
Well, hang on, everyone, for a second. But this is the and some of you, I don't know, a few of you won't, but the closing theme that I downloaded, and I took out most of the words, but is kind of the theme of, you know, getting back to zero, kind of is, and Peggy came up with it, but it's starting again, and that's why I said happy 25th rebirth day, because it was a start again. So this is going to be, I've played it a couple times, but this is the new closing theme for the show that I just kind of fits in for me. You remember it?
Yes.
Vegan don't sing. It's you know, it just kind of, I always picture the kid on the unicycle at the end going out, but it's just
good, Mr. Cotta. Yes,
back where we belong, you know.
Yes.
So, all right, everyone.
Synchronized. It's weird when you try to dance on StreamYard because you're going the other way.
All right.
My head's going that way.
I know. Yes.
Forever the choreographer, Peggy.
Fucking Disney.
I'm just following
I
Krista.
love you guys so much. Thank you.
So good to see you, Krista.
Oh, good to see everyone.
Yeah.
Group.
All right, hang on. We'll see everyone.
Personal Drew